Hey gang, we are in Exeter, Rhode Island right now in a fancy schmancy neighborhood, and you would never know, but there's a historical cemetery, really a graveyard, a family plot that's right in here that we're gonna go check out. And there's a vampire tale that goes with this. So let us go in and have a look. This is the Tillinghast family. We're going back to the 1700s. There's a stone wall here that borders this, but I guess we can walk in here. It's surrounded by private property. And here it is. I think there's about 25 stones here or so. And we're going to look at these gravestones. Let's take a look at this sign here first. It looks like a historical sign. When I did that other story last year on Mount Tom, the legend of Mount Tom, we saw one of these signs, Exeter 14. And this is registered, but this is the Tillinghast. This is the family cemetery of Tillinghast. Now, the father, and we're going back even before, we're talking Revolution here, 1776. The father was a farmer. His name was Studley, not Studley, Stutley with a T. And his wife's name was Honor. And they were farmers, and they were well-to-do. They were doing well. And some accounts say there were 7 kids. Some accounts say there were 14 kids. But in any case, they had a daughter who was born in 1777 named Sarah. And when she was 21 or 22, they say 1799, well, before I tell you what happened to her, I guess as she grew up, one of the things that is said, and some of this is legend, we don't know these things, these historical facts, you just go by the research. But it's said that when she was young, she enjoyed to write poems, read poems, and she would go to the graves of revolutionary soldiers. Again, this is probably very recent graves, the soldiers killed, and read poetry to them. Well, when she was coming back from one of those outings, came home, she became very ill, and as it turned out, she was coming down with tuberculosis, consumption, which was not uncommon in the day, incurable, like a lot of the diseases. And they called it consumption. We've talked about this before because it would consume the body. It was a lung disease, and you would cough up or blow out blood, and it was just a nasty, slow death, and it would consume your body. You'd get real skinny, and you'd be bedridden. And she was bedridden, and she finally died, and they buried her here. And I'll show you quick what is said to be her grave. Now, I think it's this one. There's 3 here, and I think she was buried right here. Okay? And if you we're going to look at a lot of these stones. You can see the name Tillinghast pretty much on all of these. So this is the family. But what happened was she was buried, and not a long time later, the sister or the brother, there's different accounts, started getting the same symptoms and started getting sick. And then I think it was a sister, she died. So they buried her here. And then another one died, and it was like dominoes going down. And then mom, Honor, her name was Honor, interesting name, by the way, she died. And she didn't die, she was getting sick. She had the same symptoms along with one of the other sons. And the father, at the time, and we've talked about this, the people believed in vampires in those days, and it's not the vampire like Bela Lugosi and, you know, coming out of the Transylvania and, you know, that's Count Dracula and all that stuff. It's a whole different story. This is the American vampire version, and they believe that, you know, we did a story in Woodstock, Vermont, of the Ransom Boy and the Corwin and that whole story, and the same thing here. That was kind of a rampant thing. So what you had to do to kill the vampire, not drive the stake down in the chest, but you'd have to get the heart from the body, and we had a story in Chicago just like this, and those were verified historical stories we did the research on, or documented, where they exhumed the body and they removed an organ and destroyed it. So in this case, they came here apparently, and they, you know, you presumably have 6 or 7 kids here that are all buried. Like here's this pile of stones here. We have, now these 3, I think, are the kids' graves, and then you have these 2 over here. And they came here and they exhumed the bodies one by one, starting right here. And when they got to Sarah's body, now I think this was a year, maybe a year and a half later, she was incorrupt. What does that mean? It means she did not decay. All the other bodies, the kids decayed as normal. They were partly skeletons. And, you know, they had no embalming in those days. And she looked really good. In fact, they said that the testimony or the story is that her hair looked fine. It looked like it had grown. Same with the fingernails. Her eyes were open. Her skin was fine. Again, she was not decayed. And they noticed some blood around on her face. So what they did is the father apparently had a knife and he opened her chest and he took out her heart. Now again, sometimes he would take the lungs, different organs, but he took out her heart here. And they said that they brought the heart to a stone. I mean, it could have been any one of these stones here. And we see the rock wall, but, you know, here's a big flat stone here. So they presumably come over here and they placed the heart on the stone and they burned it to ashes. Gone. And then they reinterred all the bodies, the kids, and they said that the mother recovered, Honor recovered. Her grave, by the way, is over here. This one here. But the other son that was sick when she was sick did not recover. So I'm gonna actually sit on the ground here because this stone is really tilted. And what I'm going to do is we'll get the flashlight. I'm going to put this on the tripod, see if I can get an angle for you here. We can hold this thing still while I shine the flashlight on it. So yeah, it says in, let's see if we can get this thing. Here we go. In memory of Honor, comma, wife of Stutley Tillinghast, H-A-S-T. She died on December 2nd, 1831. So that was a while later, 87 years old. And there's she was the mother of the children. and all to grow up. Something here. What does that say, guys? L-I, lived. I guess it says lived to, no, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, this is her grave. Now the father, I'm gonna turn this off. Where's his grave? Well, it's gotta be this one over here, right? Don't know. Let's look around a little. I didn't investigate this yet. I like to do this all with you guys. But they say that the mother recovered, one son didn't, and presumably other kids, if there were 14 of them, they all recovered because everything stopped. Once the heart was removed from Sarah, it worked. Now, I've done some research on this, not hard. You go to find a grave and you look up Sarah, and then you can see the siblings and all the other family members, and it's not adding up like the other stories we did. They're verified historically, they add up. But the reason it doesn't add up is if you do see 7 kids, but the kids they live to a ripe old age, all of them. Unless, if here's the thing. I'm just thinking here. Because I was driving here, I'm like, this is not adding up. But you know what? Maybe it does add up. Because if there were 14 kids, you look on Find a Grave, I'm just thinking this now, 14 kids, that's 7 others. Maybe those are the ones that aren't on Find a Grave that all died within the year. Don't know. But maybe someone can do some digging. More digging. I've done digging, but digging. Yeah. No pun intended, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's look at some of the stones. Don't know. It's a beautiful area, Exeter. Looks like it says Byron. Let's look at some of these stones. Yeah, Byron, son of, died 22nd, 64. Age looks like 1 year, 10 months, 8 days. And there's a footstone. So I don't know, guys. I'm 50-50 on this one. And if you look at the story on Find a Grave, and you look at the story written there in the narrative, and then you look at the story on that's published, there's all kinds of inconsistencies. This is William E. And he died July 8th, 1880. So you know what? Age 28 years. So I think that, when was he born? So this would be a grandson. This would not be a sibling, right? If he was only 28 years and he died in 1880, then he's, mid 1800s. He was born, puts him in a different generation. So that's not one of them. It has to be, let's do this. It has to be the period of these stones, and maybe mom, her stone is over there. Maybe she got a later stone. Well, she lived to be a long time, so I'm thinking, maybe there is truth to the story, because there is a number of these old little stones, and you know what? They're all in a row here. Look at this. Look at this. We've got 1. We've got 2, and there's nothing on those. We have 3. We have 4. Okay. And we've got this one. 5. 6, 7, 8, which could be the 7 kids and dad. Well, we have 10, so we have these 2. I'm guessing that the father has to be one of these. So anyway, intriguing, very intriguing. Here's now we're getting to 1875. Yeah. Clark, his wife Sarah Brown. So those are the latter ones. And here's another one of those. So there's a number of, these are early 1800s, late 1700s markers. Hardly anything left of them. So there's 3 more. I think this is a footstone. Yeah, there's nothing on there. Let's see who we got here. In memory of Stutley. Yeah, this is a son, I'm pretty sure. I know there was a son named Stutley. And died March 13th, 1848. 74. So that's a sibling. So interesting. Maybe a replacement stone. Maybe not. Let's just take one more. 2 similar stones over here that I think I'm guessing are siblings, and you have to question. So, yeah, this is died. This is Mr. M.A. wife. So this is 1870 death. So that's later. And then we have Mr. Clark. Yeah, died 1832, 48. So could that be a brother? Late 1700s birth? Not so sure. So a lot of pieces to put together here, guys. A lot of pieces to put together to try to figure. It doesn't seem like the find a grave is complete. But thank you, Warren Kroom. Literally days ago, one of our viewers who gave me the story, I would have missed this because I was coming out here already to Rhode Island. So there it is. There's the family plot. So, all right, on to the next stop, guys. Very interesting. See if we can learn more about this family. Rest in peace. Tillinghast.